live. This is a bit precariously there, situated on my desk there, but I would like to finish this last reading of the very last chapter of The Only Planet of Choice. It was published 1994, and I've read it before in July 2020, but the sound quality was very bad, and I think it is quite an important chapter. It starts with Phyllis's words of how it all came about, then it describes Sir John Whitmore, and then Andrei Puharich, who was a scientist, and this last reading here is the editor's notes. 1. History. Compared with the preceding Neanderthals, who displayed virtually no technological innovation during more than 100,000 years of existence, the Aurignacian Cro-Magnon peoples were able to realize with increasing rapidity a wide range of social, technological, and mythological possibilities. Having surveyed some of the key developments of the Aurignacian in technology, body ornamentation and representation, one is led to ask whether there is any way to tie them together. Close to the heart of these developments is an increased ability to think in and communicate by means of specific visual images. This quote is from Visual Thinking in the Ice Age by Randall White, Scientific American, Volume 261, Number 1, July 1989. In the last few years, information that the Nine supplied 20 years ago has been corroborated by new evidence. As one authority described the findings, after an evolutionary struggle lasting millions of years, our species emerged as top hominid. And then, in one spectacular moment, we became human. As recently as 35,000 years ago, Western Europe was still occupied by Neanderthals, primitive beings for whom art and progrès scarcely existed. Then there was an abrupt change. Automatically modern people appeared in Europe, and suddenly so did sculpture, musical instruments, lamps, trades, and innovation. Within a few thousand years, Neanderthals were gone, insofar as there was any single moment when we could be said to have become human. It was at the time of this great leap forward, 35,000 years ago. From the Great Leap Forward, Dawn of the Human Race by Jared Diamond in Discover the World of Science, May 1989, refer also to The Search for Modern Humans by John J. Putman, National Geographic Magazine, October 1988. 2. The beginnings of Egyptian civilization have been a perpetual source of mystery for historians and archaeologists, for the elements which made up later Egyptian civilization suddenly seem to appear at once. In the 4th millennium BC, Egypt moved straight from a stage of pre-civilization to the government of large areas, without the usual era of city-states intervening. The ordinary logic of historical development does not apply to Egypt as it does to Mesopotamia. So the Sumerian civilization in our historical records began around 6000 to 5000 BC in what is now southern Iraq, is point 3.4. Around AD 1200, there was a close relationship between the Mongol emperors of China, Mongka Khan and Kubilai Khan, and the Tibetan Lama Sakya Pandita and Karma Pakshi. However, Srongtsen Gampo, a powerful Tibetan king in the early 600s and the first Buddhist monk of Tibet, had a Chinese wife and a Nepalese wife, both of whom were responsible for converting him to the Buddha Dharma. Ionas, also known as Jonah, half man, half fish in mythology, the god of the water depths and a friend to people. He brought culture, literature, and sciences to the ancients of Ur, and we looked on as a potter who shaped the lives of men and gods, and was looked on as a potter who shaped the lives of men and God. His wife was Hinlil, goddess of grain and wheat, is reputed to have been given to humanity by these two. 6. The Kahuna are the indigenous medicine men of the Hawaii Islands, possessing an advanced philosophy of life. 7. Megiddo is recognized by archaeologists to date back at least to Chalcolithic settlements around the 4000 BC, the time of Upper and Lower Egypt and the Sumerian city-states, and 20 occupation levels have been identified. It was attacked, repeopled, and rebuilt not only by the local peoples, but also involving Phoenicians, 1940s BC, Egyptians, 1460s BC. When Joshua and the Israelites entered the area from Sinai, about 1250 BC, Megiddo, with Jericho, was one of the Canaanite strongholds, and archaeological remains demonstrate a formidable level of civilization there. It was completely rebuilt as a fortified city by Solomon, 950s to 940s BC, then destroyed and reconstructed by the Assyrians in 733 BC, and the Mesopotamians were involved around 730 BC. It went into terminal decline at the time of the defeat and death of Joshua in 609 BC. 8. Kingston-on-Thames has a landscape zodiac, miles wide, similar to the Glastonbury zodiac, as was identified by Catherine Maltwood and Mary Kane in their work on landscape zodiacs and temples. 9. The harmonic convergence was held in August 1987. Thousands of people gathered together at different sacred sites to create a worldwide meditational link. Roman 2. Science and ecology. 10. Absolute zero, however, is super cold only from our Earth experience and in relation to our dense physical existence, which survives within a narrow band of temperature parameters. 11. Matter and antimatter are fundamentally dissociated kinds of energy and form which seek to neutralize each other. 12. Our neighbor star, Sirius, is 7 light-years away. The Pleiades are 410 light-years away. All stars visible to the naked eye are from 1 to 1,000 light-years away. The center of our galaxy is 15,000 light-years away. A light-year is 63,240 times the distance between Sun and Earth. Local galaxies are over 1 million light-years away from us. 13. In physics, when a moving or changing body of mass attains a certain impetus or intensity, it goes critical, while it gathers energy for a fundamental change into another form. An example of this is water approaching boiling point, in which there is a pause in the heating process, as the water makes the conversion from liquid to steam vapor. 14. Heavy water is a technology involved in the nuclear industry. If it is released into the environment, there is a risk that it would convert ordinary water into heavy water, thus rendering all water use impossible. 15. According to the 100th monkey principle, once something new has been learned by a significant percentage of a species, others of the same species will adopt the new principle, even if they are not geographically connected to the original group. Rupert Sheldrake has written extensively about this and calls it morphogenetic resonance. 16. In the last 150 years, the age of steam engines and cars, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere have increased by 30% and continue to increase by 3% per year, or 0.4% of atmospheric composition. About half of the CO2 we produce by fossil fuel burning is absorbed by carbon dioxide consumers, like forests, wetlands, and ocean plankton, which themselves continue to decline. The other half builds up in the atmosphere. If nothing changes, carbon dioxide levels are set to double between 1919 and 2030. Nitrogen and phosphorus output into the oceans also kills marine communities, taking oxygen out of the water and starving other marine life forms. The carbon dioxide factor is a major contributor to the greenhouse effect, which is leading to rising temperatures and climatic change worldwide. 17. Dolphins. The 9 give special attention to dolphins. Their work on planet Earth is seen to be as significant as ours. 18. Chilean fishermen who kill 5,000 dolphins per year for use as crab bait call them tontitas, or silly ones, because they are friendly and easy to kill, and because their fellow mass around a captured dolphin to rescue it, thus becoming easy prey themselves. In a 13-year period, 4.8 million dolphins were killed by the US registered boats alone, and they are still permitted to kill up to 20,500 per year. The tuna industry kills 110,000 dolphins annually in the East Pacific. Commercial killing of dolphins is done mainly by Japan, Taiwan, Sri Lanka and Peru. Data source WWF Environment Handbook 1990. Point 19. To feed our demand for meat and dairy products, we now have 15 billion cattle in the world, each of which contributes 2 liters of flatulence daily. Flatulence contains methane, also produced when land and water are disturbed, which absorbs oxygen. Additionally, 5 billion people each produce 0.25 liters of flatulence daily. 20. Holes in the ionosphere relate to ozone layer depletion caused by CFCs and halon gases, which eat high-level ozone and remove the ultraviolet filtering shield in Earth's atmosphere. Roman 3. Spiritual. 21. The chakras are subtle energy centers within the body, traditionally 7 in number. The root chakra between the legs, the sacral center 3 feet width below the navel, the solar plexus a hand width above the navel, the heart chakra in the center of the breastbone, the throat chakra at the base of the throat, the brow chakra just above and between the eyebrows, and the crown chakra at the top of the head. 22. Karma is a Sanskrit, North Indian classical language word, meaning action and its laws, often interpreted in the West as the law of cause and effect. Biblical quotes. All quotes in this book are from the Holy Bible, King James Version. Gospel according to St. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Verse 16. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Verse 17. Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Verse 18. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, nor can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Verse 19. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Verse 20. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Gospel according to St. John, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Verse 2. The same was in the beginning with God. Verse 3. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Verse 4. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Verse 5. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Genesis chapter 6, verse 2. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Verse 2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Verse 3. And the Lord said, My spirit shall always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, the men of renown. Revelations chapter 4, verse 1. After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice I heard was, as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will shew thee things which must be hereafter. Verse 2. And immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. Verse 3. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper, and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto emeralds. Verse 4. And round the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiments, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Revelations chapter 7, verse 13. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence come they? Verse 14. And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Verse 15. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. Revelations chapter 8, verse 1. And when he had the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. Verse 2. And he saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints, upon the golden altar which was before the throne. 4. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. Verse 5. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their forehead, nor in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. So this was a fascinating book. It is entitled The Only Planet of Choice, Essential Briefings from Deep Space. Since its spectacular launch in 1993, The Only Planet of Choice has been widely acknowledged as one of the most significant books for our time. Many of those thousands who have already read it have spoken of the profound effect it had upon them. This book represents the outcome of 20 years of work by a distinguished international research group, whose members have been communicating through psychic transceiver Phyllis with an enlightened circle of universal beings known as the Council of Nine. Their dialogues have continued, and the result is this updated edition of The Only Planet of Choice, published this time without any linking commentaries, but with a vital new chapter on the 1990s. The book contains a mass of fresh and pressing information of particular relevance to our troubled world as it approaches the end of the millennium. Its underlying theme is free will, and the power of the inhabitants of planet Earth to create a better, more harmonious world. Among the many themes covered in detail are the existence of ET civilizations and their interactions with Earth, the nature of the source of the universe, the ancient history of humanity, Jesus, the Nazarene, environmental issues and humankind's as yet unrealized potential for self-awareness. But above all, for those who are prepared to listen and heed its messages, it offers a positive outcome for the future. Everything you ever wanted to know about the universe but didn't know how to ask, or who to ask. Have a wonderful Wednesday. It was a pleasure.